Good morning, children. I am Mrs. Javeria, taking Physical Science for Class 10th. We are into the second session of Unit 11, Principles of Metallurgy. In our previous session, we had seen what are ores and minerals. In today's session, we'll be seeing the chemical formulae and the metals which are present in an ore. Apart from this, we'll also be doing the different physical methods of ore dressing. Coming to ores and minerals, the elements or compounds of the metals which occur in nature in the earth's crust are called as minerals. The minerals from which the metals are extracted without economical loss are called as ores. And a mineral is chosen as an ore based on the following conditions. The first one, availability of the metal in a high percentage. So that mineral is only chosen where the presence of the metal or the availability is in a high percentage. That is, you are getting large amounts of metal in that particular mineral. Or the second point is economically profitable while extracting the metal from the mineral. That is, the metal can be easily extracted without much finance is economically profitable. So economically profitable while extracting the metal from the mineral. So these are the two conditions which are taken into consideration while a mineral is chosen as an ore. Now let's see the formulae and the metal present in a particular ore. The first one is bauxite. Okay, bauxite, and the formula of bauxite is Al2O3, that is aluminum oxide dot 2H2O, that is it is having two molecules of water of crystallization. I hope you all remember water of crystallization we had done in the third chapter, acids, bases and salts. Okay, so we have two molecules of water of crystallization in bauxite, and the metal which is present in bauxite is aluminium. That is, bauxite is useful for the extraction of aluminium. Okay, children. So the next one is copper iron pyrites, CuFeS2. Okay, the formula of copper iron pyrites is CuFeS2, and the metal which is extracted from this is copper. Okay, so the percentage of copper in copper iron pyrites is more when compared to iron and sulfur. That is the reason why copper is extracted from copper iron pyrites and not iron. Okay, third one is zinc blende, that is ZnS is its formula, zinc sulfide, and the metal which we are extracting from it is zinc. The fourth one, magnesite. The formula of magnesite is MgCO3, magnesium carbonate, and the metal which we are extracting from it is magnesium and not carbon or oxygen, because the percentage of magnesium is more in magnesite. The fifth ore is Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate with 7 molecules of water of crystallization. So MgSO4.7H2O is the chemical formula of Epsom salt, and the metal which we are extracting from it is magnesium. Next comes your horn silver. The chemical formula of horn silver is AgCl, silver chloride, and the metal is silver. Next is hematite, and the chemical formula of the ore hematite is Fe2O3, iron oxide, and the metal which we are extracting is iron. Next one, zincite. Zincite, the chemical formula of zincite is ZnO, zinc oxide, and the metal which we are extracting is zinc. Rock salt. The chemical formula of rock salt is NaCl, sodium chloride, and the metal which we are extracting is sodium. Next comes your cinnabar. The chemical formula of cinnabar is HgS, mercuric sulfide, Hg is mercury, S is sulfur. So mercuric sulfide. The metal which we are extracting is mercury. Next comes your magnetite, Fe3O4, and the metal which you are extracting is iron. Galena. The chemical formula of galena is PbS, lead sulfide, and the metal which you are extracting from it is lead. Similarly, gypsum, calcium sulfate with 2 water molecules. Okay, so CaSO4.2H2O. You are extracting calcium from it. I hope you all remember the formula of plaster of Paris. How do you get plaster of Paris? This also we had seen in the 3rd chapter. Calcium sulfate dot half H2O. When you are heating up gypsum, you get what is known as your plaster of Paris. CaSO4 half H2O. Calcium sulfate with only half water molecule is known as your plaster of Paris. Okay, now limestone is the next ore, and the chemical formula of limestone is calcium carbonate, CaCO3, and the element which you are extracting, all the metal which you are extracting from limestone is calcium. And the last one is carnallite, and the chemical formula of carnallite is potassium chloride, magnesium chloride with 6 water molecules. Okay, KCl MgCl2.6H2O, and the metal which we are extracting from this is magnesium. Look here children, we are not extracting potassium, we are extracting magnesium because the percentage of magnesium is high in carnallite. Okay, so in this slide and the previous slide, go through the formulae and the metals which are being extracted from these particular ores. You may either be asked the formulae of these ores and also the metal which is extracted from it. And sometimes you'll be asked how many water molecules are present in that particular ore. So then you need to write 7 molecules of water in Epsom salt and 2 molecules of water in bauxite. Similarly, 2 molecules of water in gypsum and 6 molecules of water in carnallite. And whenever you're writing the formula, children, don't forget to write the water molecules along with the formula. Okay. Now coming to the concentration of the ore. What is concentration? This is actually the first process in the extraction of the ore. Okay. And concentration of the ore is also known as dressing of the ore. So before we go to extraction of the crude metal from the ore, we use concentration of the ore, and this concentration of the ore can be done by following methods, that is hand picking, washing, froth flotation, and magnetic separation. There are still many methods of ore dressing, children, but the methods which we are going to study in this particular chapter are only 4. Okay, so actually concentration means getting rid of as much of the unwanted rocky particle present from the ore, and these impurities like sand and clay are called gangue. Okay, coming to the first method, that is hand picking, and the next one washing. If the ore particles and the impurities are different in one of the properties like color, size, it can be shape also, etc., using that property, the ore particles are hand picked, separating them from other impurities. Sometimes you would have seen your mother separating the paddy grains from the rice before she cooks the food. Okay, she is able to pick that because it is different in color, right? So based on that property, she is separating that from the rice, paddy grains from the rice. Similarly, the ore particles, the impurities which are present in it, are being separated using hand picking. And the next method is washing. These ore particles are crushed and kept on a slopy surface. They are washed with controlled flow of water. Less dense impurities are carried away by water flow, leaving the more dense ore particles behind. Densive. What is density, children? Density is nothing but mass per unit volume. Okay, so those which are less dense means it is going to float. Okay, are since they are floating, they don't sink to the bottom, they are carried away by the water flow, leaving the rest of the ore particles which are more dense behind. Coming to magnetic separation. What is magnetic separation and how do we use it? If the ore or impurity, either one of them is magnetic substance and the other non-magnetic substance, they are separated using electromagnets. Okay, so here in this figure you see two wheels, children. Okay, you are seeing two wheels on which a belt is run. Okay, and the powder ore is taken in this chamber and is allowed to fall on the running belt, that is moving belt. Whenever the powdered ore falls on this moving belt, you see here this is your non-magnetic wheel and this is your magnetic wheel, and you know magnets attract certain objects, magnetic material, that is. So this powdered ore, when it is allowed to fall on this moving belt, it passes from this area and those magnetic substances, that is the magnetic ore, gets attracted by the wheel. So these particles, the magnetic ore particles, are allowed to move further. Okay, and the non-magnetic material fall over this position because they just fly off from the wheel, whereas the magnetic ore materials try to follow the moving belt, but once they cross the magnetic wheel, even these magnetic ore particles get collected over here because the magnetic attraction no longer will attract the magnetic ore. Okay, so like this we are able to separate the magnetic ore from the non-magnetic ore. And sometimes children in the questions they try to give the diagram and ask to label the parts by giving numbers. For example, if they give this as magnetic wheel as number 1, powdered wheel as 2, non-magnetic wheel as 3 and magnetic ore as 4. So you will be writing just these words will be replaced by numbers. So you need to write what do these represent. Okay. Coming to the last ore dressing method, froth flotation. Froth flotation is mainly useful for sulfide ores which have no wetting property, whereas the impurities get wetted. Okay, wetting property, that is when you are allowing the ore to mix with water, these ores do not get wet, whereas the impurities get wet. The ore with impurities is finely powdered and kept in a water taken in a flotation tank. You see here, this is your flotation tank in which the ore particles are mixed with water. Okay, and the air under pressure is blown to produce froth in water. The froth, that is, you are allowing air, blowing air through this piston. Okay, and when you are allowing compressed air through this, it goes and produces froth. Okay, and these froth bubbles carry the sulfide ore particles. Clear? And before you start this, that is before you send compressed air, the water in the flotation tank is added with pine oil. Okay, children. So the air under pressure is blown to produce froth in water. The froth so produced takes the ore particles to the surface, whereas the impurities settle at the bottom. Thus, the froth is separated and washed to get the ore particles. Once again, look at the figure, children. You may be asked to draw this figure also. This is also an important 2-mark question, right? So this is your flotation tank, right? This is water with pine oil, and this is froth with sulfide ore particles, and compressed air is blown through this, right? And the ganj, that is the impurities, settle at the bottom of the flotation tank. Coming to the assignment, write the formulae of the following ores: bauxite, hematite, magnesite, and gypsum. If at all any water molecules are present in that particular ore, you're going to write that also, children. Second question, identify the metal present in the following ores: carnallite, galena, limestone, and cinnabar. Third question, what is froth flotation process? Sometimes you may be asked this question for 2 marks along with your diagram, or under 1 mark as froth flotation process is used for which ores. That is, then you will be writing the answer as froth flotation process is used for sulfide ores. But here the question which has been asked is, what is froth flotation process? And the fourth question is, when do we use magnetic separation in the extraction of ore? Thank you.